Welcome, beloved. Welcome to the first day of the rest of your life, and welcome to the first day of the best of your life. I am Astarius Miraculi. I love you so much. And today I have a download for you regarding the square of Saturn in Sagittarius with Neptune in Pisces. A very profound energy that is affecting the planet, affecting people, and it's been going on for a little bit. Before I go into the full scoop of what it is, I'm going to offer some didgeridoo. The didgeridoo I'm offering is with the intention to make your mind and your heart fertile ground for the receiving of this information, that you would receive it in a good way and make it applicable in your life in such a way that your life is transformed and made better in some ways. And so I'm going to play my didgeridoo. This one I named after my own self, Astarius Miraculi, and it's actually one that I had made for myself so that I could play into my own body. I'm always playing into everyone else's body, so this is so that I can play into my own body. And again, the intention here is to make your mind and your heart fertile ground for the assimilating of the information that I'm going to give you with regards to the Saturn-Neptune square. This healing frequency is given to you and me and every being in all existence, included and helping in your healing, our healing. Life is beautiful. Life is divine. Love you so much. Love me so much. Love God so much. Love all so much. Loving is a wise thing to do. As I said prior to the didgeridoo and the sound frequencies, I am bringing the resonance of information on Saturn in Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces. This is something that's been going on for a while. The first exact square took place last year, November the 26th, 2015. And then the next transit took place. They connected again on June the 17th, 2016. And the final connection will be September the 10th of 2016. So it's a very long-term energy. And that's the nature of the trans-Saturnian planets, or, the planets that are Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. They move so slowly that their impact is a very long-term impact. It doesn't like hit and disappear. It hangs in, for a while. Neptune is a 14-year cycle. It takes 14 years to go from one sign to another. Saturn is a 2.5-year cycle from one sign to the other. Anyways, when Saturn is in Sagittarius, it is an energy that has to filter through something that is not necessarily the most common energy. Saturn is very much structure and focus and timing and methodology, whereas the Sagittarian energy is liberation and freedom and exaltation and optimism and faith. And so Saturn operates a little bit differently when it's moving through the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is also having a great deal to do with higher philosophies and religions. And so, when Saturn is moving through Sagittarius, something has to shift and change with regards to the structure, Saturn, of our religious and spiritual foundations. In a nutshell, the energy of Saturn square Neptune has to do with the physical marrying the non-physical. Neptune has to do with spirit, has to do with all of the things of an intangible nature. Neptune has to do with eternity, whereas Saturn has to do with time. So another thing that we're experiencing is, how is it that we can facilitate a marriage between time and eternity? Time, Saturn; eternity, Neptune. Neptune is nebulous. You can't. Neptune is atmosphere. It's spacious. Whereas Saturn is form. So form and spaciousness are coming together. But how do we bring them together in a harmonious way? Oftentimes, the square represents a very challenging energy where we experience things that are difficult. But it doesn't absolutely have to be that way. Now, some astrologers present information regarding these planetary connections in a way that may reflect a little more negativity or a little bit fatalistic. Whereas my approach is, where's the advantage within the adversity? Where's that blessing within the so-called curse? And how do we make that stumbling block a stepping stone? Because we definitely have the power to do that. So I'm going to share with you a poem that I wrote that says a little bit about how we are meant to approach this energy in order to glean a beneficial and a blessed energy from it. This one I call Attitudes Are More Important Than Circumstances. It's a selection from a book, Miraculi, Song of Ascension. And so in it I say, "Hear ye, O seeker, play not a game of chance. Maintain a lofty attitude to conquer lowly circumstance. Some circumstances seem so bad, though goodness in disguise. It's up to you to see the good. It's up to us to see the good, or else be victimized. For if a circumstance seems down and we reject it with a frown, that circumstance is then compelled to pull us down in mental hell. But if we keep our mind on high despite the pain of circumstance, up with our attitude, the circumstance rises, and beyond its pain, we then advance. Bitter circumstance is as a medicine to bring the wellness of a learned lesson. But we must swallow this medicine down to receive the healing and achieve the blessing. For if we spit this medicine out, life gives another dose without a doubt, and then we become victim of circumstance, a tyrant from which we can't advance until we learn to face it with a smile, drink that bitter cup, and go the extra mile, so that all things may be enhanced, because your attitude is more important than circumstance. And so we look at, for example, the Saturnian energy that is a representation of the body. Neptune energy is a representation of spirit. Spirit encompasses attitude. Body encompasses circumstances. So the circumstantial side of life we experience through Saturn. So let's look at some of the different energies that we will have to bring into a place of harmony. So we harmonize, we learn to harmonize body and spirit in the recognition that the body is the micro container of the macrocosmic spirit. The body, is the house of the soul. And the individuality of the soul is the way in which spirit in its absoluteness is expressed. For example, Neptune represents omnipresence, that which is evenly present everywhere, the all that is, and that which is eternal, that which is unfolding down the corridors of forever. Saturn is more a representation of time, a representation of that which can be limited. So how do we create a synergy between the limited, the body, and the limitless, our spirit? By recognizing that our body is a qualitative extension of our spirit. And when we engage in recognizing the synergy between the body and the spirit, then they begin to operate harmoniously. Neptune is church. Saturn is state. So this is a matter of how do we assimilate the energies between the spiritual aspect or the religious aspect and also the governmental aspect. So one of the things that we've been noticing is that there's a lot of shifting and changing with regards to religious programming. Many of us that have been programmed from little children in a very religious and denominational way are beginning to go through changes right now. See, denominationalism is reflected through Saturn, whereas universal spirituality is reflected through Neptune. Neptune is the elder within this particular aspect because Neptune is in Pisces, is in its own sign, whereas Saturn has to really adjust in order to operate through Sagittarius because they're very different energies. Saturn is the natural ruler of Capricorn, whereas Capricorn and Sagittarius have very, very different natures. So we're having to assimilate energies that don't usually work in an easy, harmonious way. Whereas when Neptune is in Pisces, it's in its own sign. So they are the very same frequency. So Neptune is that which is carrying the power in this experience. Neptune is the frequency of ascension, where we come into that ascended reality of who we are, in the multidimensional essence of who we are, the all-knowingness, the cosmic consciousness aspect of who we are. Whereas Saturn is related to consciousness. Saturn is related to the outwardness, that which is known. Neptune is related to the unconscious, that which is unknown. For example, the average person is using maybe 5 or 10% of the mind and brain capacity, or that other capacity of mind and brain that we have yet to use, is that which is in the unknown realm of our being, in the unconscious or subconscious realm of our being. And yet we can gain access to that if we will be of the intention to harmoniously align these two energies. So we have a presence. Our physicality, our soul essence, is an expression of our presence. This is the way that we focalize in this experience of physicality, which is very important. We have come into this physical experience in order that spirit might become a predominant force in the realm of physicality. Physicality is not meant to rule things. The spirit essence is meant to rule things, because spirit is cause and flesh is effect. Saturn, body; Neptune, spirit. Saturn, presence; Neptune, omnipresence. See, your presence is the meeting place for the omnipresence that you really are, because it takes the whole universe to make up who and what you are. So I'm not putting a lot of emphasis on the negative possibilities of these combinations. I'll say a little bit here and there, but the main thing that I'm emphasizing is how do we, by virtue of our divine intention, cause these two energies to work harmoniously, even though they're like two people in a marriage that don't get along very easily. And yet, if there is a sincere desire to work it out, then it is achievable. Saturn is logic. Neptune is intuition. And so this is a cycle of time wherein we are meant to find a way to harmonize the logical aspect of who we are with our intuition. Our logic, operates more from the mental capacity of our being. Our intuition is tied more into the feeling aspect of who we are. We have been programmed in our society to be a bit fearful of our feeling nature. Person starts to cry. What does the average one say? Oh, don't cry. The pretense, I really care about you, don't cry. Oftentimes they're saying, you're making me very uncomfortable, please stop crying. So there's this fear of the feeling aspect of who we are. And the fear of the feeling aspect of who we are creates a block in the expression of our intuition, because our intuition operates through the feeling nature. This is the gift that Neptune brings. Now, if we succumb to the shadow aspect, then Neptune can be an expression of deception, confusion, fear. So when we take Neptune from the shadow possibilities and look at how it combines with Saturn, we're looking at fear, Neptune, with regards to our, structural well-being, the foundation of our life, our security in life, and the making of money, and our career and things of that nature. So there may be many people who are experiencing some measure of fear with regards to the career aspect. One of the things that is also a predominant expression in this combination of Saturn Neptune is that there are many people experiencing a dissolving of their career basis. Whatever it is that they've been doing work-wise for a long period of time, everything's all beginning to change. Neptune is also transcending, or transcendence. So if you have been engaging in things that do not reflect your highest heart's desire, that does not make your heart sing, it's a time when it may seem as if life is forcing a change upon you, when in reality it's your higher self that is bringing about this change. So it is about looking at, am I doing what is a reflection of my integrity? You don't want to do something just for the sake of making money, because God is your source, God is your substance, and God is your supply. Not your job, not the people around you, not your family, not your, financial sources of income, because behind all of that is the force of the Creator. God is your source, God is your substance, and God is your supply. I am source, I am substance, I am supply. You want that to be your constant meditation and affirmation. So Saturn represents that which is governmental. Neptune represents that which is universal. So it is a time when government is meant to come into a greater alignment with that which is universal, meaning that government is ultimately going to need to morph into a place of win-win. Now, it's a process getting to that, because there's still a tremendous amount of taking and a tremendous amount of the win-lose attitude, with the government winning and, the populace losing. The deck is sometimes a bit stacked with regards to the relationship between government and the populace. So there's a strong change that is in the process of happening. The spiritualization of government in relative to the highest resonance of what's available here, we can experience the spiritualization of government, where maybe even we grow to such evolvement as a society where we have more of a peopleocracy and not necessarily a small group of people that represent a governing body that's calling all of the shots. We get a chance to, through this experience, take a look at what are the ways in which we've been walking in separation. Shadow, or not even just exclusively the shadow, but Saturn represents separation. Now, in a shadowy way, it's separation as in being at war with other aspects of life. In the divine sense, it's just being in the expression of one's own individuality, while at the same time representing or understanding that the individuality represents a means by which we can link with the, what I call, unividuality, or the universal selfhood. They are meant to be brought together. Saturn, separation; Neptune, oneness. When we want to learn about the oneness of the wholeness of life, then it is Neptune that we're looking to. When we want to learn about how to deal with the structure of our life, the methodology of our life, the systemizing of our life, and all of that, the time of our life, then we work with the Saturnian energy. But the key is that we're bringing these energies together. So this is an amazing time in our lives when we can really become very, very accelerated in our spirituality and bringing our spirituality, Neptune, into concrete expression, Saturn. So going back to the poem, Attitudes Are More Important Than Circumstances, as I said in there, some circumstances seem so bad, though goodness in disguise, it's up to us to see the good or else be victimized. Saturn is circumstantial, but in order to, like we must, or let us say that what I said through, though goodness in disguise. See, the goodness in disguise, that which is disguised, is related to the Neptunian energy. Some circumstances seem so bad, though goodness in disguise, is up to us to see the good or else be victimized. The most exalted aspect of Neptune enables us to see the goodness in things. For example, the power of forgiving is also rooted within the energy of Neptune. It's up to us to see the good or else be victimized. For if a circumstance seems down, and we reject it with a frown, that circumstances then compel to pull us down in mental hell. So when we have a negative reaction to negative experiences that we're going through, we make that negative experience even bigger than it initially was. So we must learn to look at things with eyes of exaltation, with eyes of benevolence, with eyes of positiveness and optimism, to be the optical mystic. But if we keep our mind on high, despite the pain of circumstance, up with our attitude, the circumstance rises, and beyond its pain, we then advance. Keeping our mind on high. Neptune is the frequency that facilitates that, because spirit is infused within the energy of Neptune. And spirit is that which elevates the frequency of the mind, that enables us to look beyond the limitations, Saturn, of the circumstantial aspect of our life. Bitter circumstances bitter circumstance is as a medicine to bring the wellness of a learned lesson. But we must swallow this medicine down to receive the healing and achieve the blessing. Swallowing the medicine down means allowing the challenging, difficult experiences that we see, allowing them their right of temporary existence, because we are meant to be empowered by everything. For if we spit this medicine out, life gives another dose without a doubt. Then we become victim of circumstance, a tyrant from which we can't advance, until we learn to face it with a smile, drink that bitter cup, and go the extra mile, so that all things may be enhanced, because your attitude is more important than circumstance. Saturn represents religion, and religion as an expression of denominationalism. And when we take the word denomination, or denominational, if we were to transform the syllables into words themselves in order to derive meaning, we have the nom in nation all, denominational, the numb in nation all, to be numb in a nation of allness. So be careful, no matter what your religious belief might be, recognize that it is a blessing unto you, and even though someone else's religious beliefs may be totally different, that is also a blessing unto them. So we want to make space for allowing. Neptune is allowing. Saturn is limiting. See, and so we see that through the negative denominationalism of our religious systems. When one religion is saying, I have the truth, you don't. You're going to hell, I'm going to heaven. All of us are the resonance of eternity, because we were fashioned out of the fabric of God's own being. And the nature of God is eternal. And if we are an extension, a qualitative extension of the beingness of the Most High, then so it is that we also are eternal. Neptune, eternity. Saturn, time. So we want to move beyond the limitations associated with religion and let our denominational religion or religious tendencies to morph into spirituality, where we make room for the all that is relative to spiritual beliefs, because all of us will ultimately make our way back into the bosom of absoluteness. Saturn, death. Neptune, ascension. But when we harmoniously align the frequencies of Saturn and Neptune, then we recognize that there is no such thing as death. Even when the body is laid down, through the so-called change of death, then the reality of selfhood as spirit continues to unfold down the corridors of forever. Saturn is the patriarch. Neptune is the matriarch. So Saturn is a very strong expression of masculine energy. Neptune is an expression of feminine energy. The feminine energy has a natural and very strong tendency towards aligning with the oneness of the wholeness. And we see that relative to how women circle in together. We can look at the difference. We see that there's a very different way in which men come into circle with each other and women come into circle with each other. Women are a little more masterful at that. Or let us say the feminine aspect is more masterful at that. Regardless of whether that feminine aspect is expressed through a woman or a man, because every man has the feminine component as every woman has the masculine component. Saturn has to do with blocks, Neptune with open flow. So how do you create an open flowing vibration? Not so much in spite of the so-called blockages of your life, but because of them. You are meant to be empowered by everything. How do you create a way in which to be served by the blockages of your life? Saturn is that which is obvious. Neptune is that which is hidden. The greater measure of who we actually are relative to our human beingness is currently hidden, which is one of the reasons why the average one of us are using about 5 or 10% of the mind and brain capacity. And we do have those of us who are exceptions to that rule. Saturn is always about planning, and Neptune is about playing it by ear, about spontaneity. So anyway, this is some of the download of the energies that are meant to be woven together, and you have the power to harmoniously align all of these energies. I am Astarius Miraculi, and I love you so much, and I hold space for your absolute expansion and transformation. Also, I want to mention that on August the 7th this year, 2016, I'm coming to Philadelphia to the One Life Philadelphia Healing Garden Party. And if you go down to the bottom of this video, I'll have a link there where you can get all of the information and the particulars on that. I'll be doing a major presentation as well as individual healings there, and I haven't been to that area in a very long time, and so I'm excited about getting back over there. And I would love to see some of my beloveds that I'm connected with, that are in that area. I don't care if it's New York or New Jersey or Baltimore or Washington, D.C., any of those areas. Come on and come to the One Life Philadelphia Healing Garden Party. As I said, you can get the particulars on that below the video. I am also a psychic astrologer, and I do sound healing with didgeridoo and vocal harmonics, and practice and teach Reiki. I do this work in person. I'm in the Atlanta area, and I also do this work by phone and by Skype, so I do work for people all over the world. And in order to get more information on that, just follow the link that's directly right on top of the video, my website. So I love you so much. Walk in the light, walk in the joy. Know that up at the top there's room for all. It's just the bottom that's crowded, y'all. Aho, Ashe, Amen, Namaste, Hotep, In Lakesh, Alakin, Shalom, Satnam, Hariom. I love you with the passion of heaven.